Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're dropping into Knoxville, Tennessee today, looking at the May 30th SmackDown. And you should probably buckle up, because our sources, we've got video highlights, recap articles. They describe a night that wasn't just, busy. It was a flat-out declaration.
That's a good word for it, declaration. This wasn't just like moving pieces around. It was about big statements being made. We're talking broken trust, some big returns, really shocking turns, and just this feeling of chaos kind of building everywhere.
Right. So our mission, like always, is to wade through all of that, pull out the really important stuff, and help you understand what went down, and maybe more importantly, why it all matters. Especially with Money in the Bank just, days away now?
Yeah, it's right around the corner. And this show was incredibly dense. So many things happened that impacted, multiple divisions pretty hard. Let's just dive in.
Okay, let's do it. Starting right at the top with something the sources painted as really emotional. Bianca Belair returning. She was back from injury. And in her hometown, Knoxville.
Yeah, the crowd reaction was apparently huge. Electric. They were even singing Rocky Top for her. A massive welcome home.
But that warmth, it didn't last long, did it?
Yeah.
Naomi interrupted. And surprisingly, maybe, it wasn't hostile right away. The sources kind of frame it as an apology, a confession.
Yeah, that's how it started. But this is where it gets, really weird based on the details we have. Naomi apparently confessed to crossing a line that just feels surreal. She admitted she went to Bianca's parents' house and nobody was home, so she just let herself in.
Wow.
Right. A truly jarring detail. Apparently, she talked about looking through photo albums, remembering, being tag champs. But according to the reports, that sentiment just completely missed the mark with Bianca.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah.
Bianca's response, from what we read, was crystal clear. No forgiveness happening right now.
Okay.
She apparently said flat out that Naomi betrayed my trust. Then, threw their friend Jade Cargill through a windshield.
Right.
And then lied about it for months. So Bianca was firm. She said she was done, she meant it, and she gave this really strong warning about Naomi ever coming near her family again, basically saying what happened to Jade would be nothing compared to what Bianca might do.
And Naomi's reply to that, it just cranked up the tension even more. The sources say she hinted it wouldn't be good for you and your mama to be in a wheelchair, adding she'd hate for something bad to happen. That just immediately shifted the whole thing from like a tense confession to something genuinely menacing.
Yeah, any hope of them sorting things out right then just vanished.
Yeah.
And that whole confrontation, it led straight into the first Money in the Bank qualifier, didn't it?
It did. Right after that exchange, boom, Jade Cargill and Nia Jax storm out, and we've got that three-way qualifier. The sources, they describe this match as an absolute war. Nia Jax, predictable maybe, was dominant early on, using her size, her power.
And Jade Cargill was hitting those power moves that reportedly rattled the ring. But what seemed to stand out was Naomi's resilience, fighting through being double-teamed, pushing through pain.
She showed incredible toughness, yeah. The finish, it was all about timing, it seems. Jax missed a big move, a finisher, and Naomi just jumped on the chance. Instantly. The sources called it quick, clean, devastating, got the pin. Punch your ticket to Money in the Bank.
And the Knoxville crowd apparently loved it, erupted for Naomi's win, which is, a really interesting contrast to Bianca Belair's reaction backstage. They showed her, and it told a totally different story. Still hurt, still distrustful. That thread is definitely not done.
No way. Then we got the second qualifier, Jacob Fatu versus Andrade versus Carmelo Hayes. Now, this one was called a thriller. Three elite athletes just going at it. Nonstop action apparently got loud. This is awesome, Chance.
But based on the sources, this match pretty quickly became way more than just the three guys in the ring, right? Because of all the interference, just exploded.
Total chaos. Miz got involved somehow. Solo Sikoa showed up on the apron. Then JC Mateo blindsided Carmelo Hayes. And then Jimmy Uso runs down, seemingly doing his own thing.
It just completely fell apart into, like you said, total chaos. Bodies flying everywhere. What's kind of fascinating, though, is that even with all that madness outside, Andrade, he's described as staying cool and focused. He found his moment.
He did. Nailed the message on Hayes, got the win, got his spot in the ladder match. So, okay, Money in the Bank is starting to take shape. We've got LA Knight, Seth Rollins, Solo Sikoa, Penta, and now Andrade for the men, and Naomi for the women.
And speaking of Solo Sikoa and, that interference,
yep.
The sources really hammered home how the cracks in the bloodline seem to be getting, wider, significantly wider. We saw it pop up in a few different segments.
Right. Let's start with JC Mateo versus R-Truth. Mateo won pretty easily, which, the sources kind of said wasn't the main point. The message was louder than the result.
Yeah, they specifically mentioned R-Truth completely overestimating his own power against Mateo, who's on this streak of devastation. We saw that punishment time with the headbutts after the bell, too.
Then Jimmy Uso comes out with a chair. Looked like maybe he was going to help Truth, but nope. Solo Sikoa shows up, and the whole dynamic shifts. The reports mention Solo has been trying to get Jimmy back in the fold, saying it is time to come home, like he's retraining him or something.
Yeah, Solo seems laser-focused on rebuilding his version of the bloodline. But then, okay, Mateo attacks Truth again after the match is over. And the sources mention Solo Sikoa was yelling at JC. That's interesting, right? Solo trying to control this wild card he brought in.
Definitely. And they mentioned some kind of master plan for Solo, which just adds, another layer of intrigue to whatever he's doing.
And the bloodline stuff wasn't just about Jimmy and Mateo. Damian Priest confronted Jacob Fatu backstage. Priest apparently said he respected Fatu, but didn't respect the crew that follows you around, meaning Solo's group.
That feels like it's setting something up down the line, doesn't it? The sources kind of hinted at that, like an inevitable clash based on pride and who you associate with, maybe more than a title.
But here's where the bloodline story got really interesting, based on these reports. Jacob Fatu himself was described as furious.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he went right up to Solo backstage, made it clear he wants to win on his own. He was apparently really angry about Solo interfering in his Money in the Bank match.
Okay, now that's a huge detail. Fatu isn't just, playing soldier here. He has his own goals, wants that legitimate win, and that seems to clash directly with Solo's methods, The chaos, bringing people back into the fold.
Exactly. They even showed them crossing paths again later. Just silence, barely exchanging words, just glares, just fire. Is how the sources put it.
Wow. It really feels like the different agendas and power plays within Solo's own group are already causing some serious friction. The sources basically say the cracks are getting wider and the collapse may be coming sooner than anyone expected.
Yeah, they painted it like it's inevitable, and when it hits, it won't be subtle.
Okay, let's shift gears. Another segment that just completely reset a whole division. The tag team scene. It was already kind of chaotic, right? Multiple teams in the ring, Street Profits, Fraxium, Motor City Machine Guns, DIY.
Yeah, the ring was packed. Everyone making their case for a title shot. Tensions were super high.
And then, just like that, the whole atmosphere changed. The sources describe sudden silence. The lights changed. The arena went cold. And then their entrance. Chilling. People were calling out, Wyatt Sicks, they're here, Uncle Howdy and the Wyatt Sicks.
And what came next, based on the reports, was just pure destruction. They leveled the ring. Every single tag team was just left in pieces.
You saw specific things mentioned too. Rowan taking out the Motor City Machine Guns, Loomis diving off the top, Joe Gacy with the double clothesline, and Nia Jax hitting that superplex powerbomb on two women, stacked them up in something called an Annihilator. Jade Cargill apparently took the worst of that.
And then Nikki Cross showed up. Seemed like she came out of nowhere and just took out Candice LeRae. The sources noted this feeling. Like, she absolutely terrifies me, as is the rest of the Wyatt Sicks. That sense of real unease definitely comes across.
Yeah. And then Uncle Howdy hit his sister Abigail just to, cap it all off. The Wyatt Sicks just stood tall, dominant, silent, menacing. The impact on the tag division, undeniable. Like the sources said, suddenly the path to the tag titles looks very different. Called it back to Bedlam.
It wasn't just an attack, was it? It felt like a total demolition of the whole division's hierarchy. And the big question left hanging, according to everything we read, is what is the motivation? What is the reasoning behind these attacks? They just showed up, destroyed everything, and left. No explanation yet.
Very unsettling. Okay, moving on. Some other key things happen. Las Garza finally got a win. Sources noted it was long overdue.
Right, but it came with what the sources called an asterisk. Ethan Page and Santos Escobar basically made sure Javon Evans and Ray Fenix didn't get any momentum out of it. There was a clear distraction from Santos Escobar.
That the ref didn't see, right?
Yeah, sources pointed that out. Ref didn't acknowledge it. And Ethan Page himself got physically involved, got out of his chair, squared up to Phoenix, even though he was supposedly just minding his own business. Then Page slammed Phoenix, sent him flying over our announce desk.
Wow. Phoenix did hit a huge super kick back on Page, apparently. Led to commentary asking, what in the world is Ethan Page doing?
So the way the sources framed it, the story here is about Evans and Phoenix. These two rising stars getting actively targeted, kind of dragged into deeper waters by Legado del Fantasma, and now Ethan Page seems involved too. They even had a brief face-off, Evans and Phoenix, that felt like a little preview of Worlds Collide.
Interesting. Okay, Women's United States title picture. Zelina Vega kept her momentum going, got a win over Alba Fire, even with all the outside chaos from Chelsea Green and Piper Niven.
And there's that really bizarre incident, wasn't there? Piper Niven tried to use her mask as a weapon.
Yeah.
Apparently smacked Piper instead,
Yeah.
resulting in a broken nose for Piper.
Ouch. Okay, so amidst all that, Vega got the win with Code Red, still champ.
Yep, reign continues, but
Mm-hmm.
the potential next challenger might have arrived backstage. Julia. She was just shown watching the match in silence. No words, just a stare, a statement.
Ah, so the implication is...
Yeah, the sources imply that her just watching like that suggests Vega's time as champion might be nearing its final chapter.
Yeah.
That silent observation felt really deliberate based on the reports.
Gotcha. And speaking of threats, Tiffany Stratton made one too, right? Framed as a Money in the Bank threat.
Exactly. She apparently sees Nia Jax as a problem, but basically said, you ain't seen nothing yet. Clearly aiming to win Money in the Bank, cash in where I want and when I want. And she specifically called out Bianca, called her Little Miss Tiffy, referenced Bianca being in her way for the title, and warned what happens when people play with me, telling Bianca to just ask Jade. So that kind of brought all that Bianca-Naomi Jade drama right back into the MITB mix.
Right. All these simmering conflicts, these rising threats, it all seemed to build towards that explosive final segment. Cody Rhodes. His big return to SmackDown, first time since WrestleMania.
Yeah, the sources described the fans just roaring for him, said he took a moment to really soak it all in.
He apparently talked about, the burden of being champ, the loss,
Yeah.
presumably at Mania, and how The Rock's lingering offer still follows him everywhere. But the main point, his core message was apparently clear. He wasn't there to mope. He was there to fight.
And then Jey Uso joined him. That felt like a pretty big moment of unity, didn't it? A shared moment, a unified front, crowd totally behind them.
That unified front didn't last long, though. Immediately challenged, John Cena's music hit.
And out comes Cena with Logan Paul. Side by side, the sources highlighted that the trash talk started instantly. Verbal shots fired right away.
Yeah, Cena apparently mocked Cody and Jay's legacies. Paul leaned into the Tennessee location, taunting the crowd, taunting the family names, making it personal.
They really went for it verbally from the descriptions, calling Cody and Jay professional wrestling's biggest wannabes, John Cena wannabes, who wanted his fame and money but were too desperate and too lazy. I mean, those are some harsh words reported there.
Ouch. And, well, when tensions get that high, words often turn into fists, right? The sources point to a cheap shot from Cody Rhodes as the spark that just about lit this powder keg on fire.
And then it was on. You saw key spots described. Cody going for the attitude adjustment, a super kick from Jay, a disaster kick, Cody hitting that over-the-rope cross-bodied to the outside on Cena, Jay meeting Logan Paul head-on.
Total brawl. But Cody and Jay got the upper hand in the end, cleared the ring, sent Cena and Paul reeling up the ramp, stood tall to close the show.
Based on how that whole segment played out, it really felt like, a definitive preview, a taste of the chaos we're probably going to see at Money in the Bank. That show, well, like the sources suggested, it's shaping up to be a war.
So yeah, looking back at the SmackDown, the source material makes it really clear. This was way more than just like another show on the road to the pay-per-view. It felt like a declaration night, defined by that broken trust between Bianca and Naomi, those major returns immediately shaking things up, the truly shocking arrival of the Wyatt Sicks, and just escalating chaos everywhere, the bloodline fracturing more, the tag division completely wiped out.
It absolutely hammered home that nobody's walking into Money in the Bank unchanged.
Yeah.
The whole landscape, the whole playing field just feels dramatically different after this one show.
Yeah, totally. So with all this destruction, right, and so many huge questions still hanging out there, what are the Wyatt Sicks actually after? Is the bloodline about to just completely implode? How personal will these ladder matches get? I mean, is Money in the Bank actually going to give us any answers? Or is it just going to create even more chaos? What big thing from this crazy night really stood out the most to you?